you have total consolidated, which rolls down to total divisions, as well as import, China, and transfer data. Under total divisions, you have for broadband, corporate, Concord, Bud Lake, and Park. And then each one of them have their own roll-up. So for broadband, got Alhambra, 1005, and then the other ones. 1010, Warminster, are still being used even maybe up to a few months of this fiscal year, if it's no longer exists. And then of course you have corporate, Concord, Bud Lake. So the user, if you're going into subcenter, you can select a specific element or multiple elements, as long as the dimension is on a row or column axis. So if I go back to the previous one, if your accounts are currently sitting here in your column, your rows, or in columns, you can then go out and select multiple ones. But if you are in the page area, you have to only select one element up here. System can't compute that. Won't be a happy camper. Now, your elements can also be selected based on level, attribute, or defined subsets. When I say the possibilities are endless, they are. There's so many ways of getting to your data that it can be a little overwhelming once you start playing with the tool. And we're going to work with the subset editor here. The subset editor consists of several toolbars, subset edit, view tools, help, as well as the buttons. There's lots of fun buttons here. Okay, by selecting the view drop-down menu and selecting toolbars, you'll be able to see which ones have been selected. I pretty much think you guys all have all of them because I've set that up when you guys originally went in. So you can see by default all of them are selected. Now, some of my favorite buttons, the all button. The all button is absolutely one of the, you can get to everything just by going to that button here, this all button right here. Okay. There's also the filter by level. This is a good one. Filter by wildcard or attribute. You have your alias selection box. We went over that a little bit. Excuse me. And then your subset selection box. Okay, we'll talk about subsets in a little bit. Let's go play a little bit and see what we got. So Server Explorer, let's play the P&L cube now. So I double click on it. I've opened up the cube viewer for the P&L cube. And again, this is the default view. So the default view represents accounts in my rows, months in my columns, actual scenario, FY24 year, total consolidated division, and total departments. Okay. So let's go use the account dimension here to play a little bit with the subset editor. So if I double click or click on account, you can see what happens is it opens up the current list of accounts that are in that view. Again, I can turn off the account/description alias. Now, you'll notice only a few of them will change. See where it says PPV outbound material, PPV inbound material? That's the original definition of that C-level element. But years ago, Patty in cost accounting wanted to change the description of those. So watch what happens to those two elements when I click on them. It became CM cost of sales and purchase cost variance. Right? Now the roll-up doesn't change. The counts that are in it. It's just you can have multiple descriptions of the same element or aliases. You can have different aliases. Okay? So that's that button. Now here's the all button, right? So I'm just going to cancel. Let's just get back to it. If I hit the all button, okay, not freak y'all out, but there are a lot of elements that are sitting in this account dimension like a lot, all over the place. Okay? So it's got a lot of stuff sitting in here. And remember, the blue ones, those are your base level elements. In case of an account, those are going to be your GL account numbers. Okay. And you can see what it's doing, it's sorting A to Z here. You can actually go in and because it's kind of like an automated sort, so that's why it's a little funky. But there's subsets. This is the subset. You go into subsets, and you can see there's subsets that are actually named in here. All right, so I'm just going to go grab, let's just look what all the counts are. You can see all accounts are just going to be your base level accounts. There's a default, okay, which is just giving you the total accounts, the top of the house. If I drill down on your grid, it'll look like what's in here. Okay, so these are subsets that have been defined for users to use for different purposes. Okay. Get the all button. This is just save subset, because remember I said you can go to subset and you can do a save as, and you can give it any name you want and make it a private subset. Or you can just keep the default private and it'll load just with what you want to see on the top. This is the reload. That reload's what originally came up, when we brought it up. Certainly you've got things like cut, copy, paste. Now if you cut something, if I went here, okay, and let's say, I cut it, I'm not deleting it. It's still there. Okay, so if I, redo this, it's still going to be there. Okay? Same thing goes with like this delete button. Like for example, if I go revenue and I hit that button, it says delete. I'm going, oh no, I don't want to delete it. I accidentally hit it. Oh no, I deleted revenue. Now you have it. Okay? So let's close total accounts, reopen revenues right there. It's just for your viewing purposes to allow you to see, basically what you want to get at. Okay? Next to the delete is the keep. The keep is nice because let's say I only want to look at departmental spending. I get the keep button. Let's say I click OK. And that's all that's going to come up here. I'm going to go back to default. Go down. Yeah, A to Z. That's exactly what it's doing. Let's go sort A to Z, so what we get with. Okay. Go Z to A. This is going to sort by index or ascending. Okay? And that's kind of, not going to get into detail. And this can go descending. So it just kind of reverses it. The other thing is that I've been working in a world of hierarchies like this. I'm used to drilling down in reports. A lot of accountants like their GL accounts and they want to see the total below it. Right, so you have the ability, going up here to one of these drop-down menus, if I go to view, if I say expand, right now we're doing this expand below, that's the default. If I go here to view, and I hit expand above, watch what happens. You see that? It's totally reversed. And let's say when you run your report, and this is how you run your report, then you're going to get total accounts at the bottom, which again is the same as net income. Right? But again, the world I live in, I'm top down when it comes to doing some focus. But you have the option, when you're working with the tool, to go, bottom up basically. All right, now the filters. The filters are great. So let's say I hit the all button. Okay. Within this, every element that's sitting out here in the account dimension, you have your base levels, but you also have multiple C levels, right? You have C levels that roll up to C levels. So for example, if I went into work order scrap, work order scrap, where'd you go? Okay, if I go to work order scrap, and I drill down on work order scrap is made up of two C-level elements, work order variances and scrap. If I can go into work order variances, then I also have work order material variances, work order labor variances. until I actually get to the actual geo accounts. Okay? Each one of these are at different levels. And the way perspectives works, your base level elements have a level of 0. Okay? Because work order material variances is the parent to let's say pilot expenses. This has a level of 1. Work order variances would be a level 2. Work order scrap should be a level 4, because it's like the 4th hierarchy starting at the beginning, right? Okay, let's do this again. Puts everything. And if I go in here, and let's say I want to get, what are all my level 4s? I should see work order scrap there somewhere. Okay, and I don't. Maybe it's a level 5. So if I go to level 5, that's going to be my total accounts excluding corporate, etc. In other words, there's different levels. Levels can be very useful. The most important level, though, is if you want to get your bases, go to filter level 0, and you'll see you're only going to see those base level geo accounts. Right? And then I can do an A to Z if they're not in order. Put everything into geo account order. And you can see down here at the bottom, under 99998, there's a lot of miscellaneous stuff out here. Like we used to actually put the shares in the P&L cube. I don't know if that's still happening. We have terms in there. There was just a lot of other things that we had in there besides just geo accounts were also at this base level. Right, so again, that's filter by level. There's also something called filter by attribute. Okay, and you can see there were a few that were set up in this in here, like for example JDE, which would have been where I would have mapped the Concord GL account to the sideline GL account. So if I went into JDE and oh good. So I'm not seeing anything under JDE. That's interesting. I think I removed them. You would have actually seen the mapping. I could show that in the computers to show that. Now, this one is really important. Let's say filter by, and again, I've got all my everything. This is filter by wildcard. You want to know everything that's related to depreciation. Okay? And because we've got this alias turned on, which shows account and description, I'm going to actually get the GL account name, which is GL number. Okay, but I want to find anything that is depreciation related. First thing I'm doing is going to hit the star, because the star is basically a wild card, right? So anything that, let's say, gets accumulated depreciation, even though this is, I'm not going to see that. But let's say ACCUM, before it got to DEPR, would show up because I put a filter character before it, right? And let's just say we type DEPR, so DEPR, and another wildcard to finish it off. Let's see what we get. It's going to be depreciation accounts. Instead of you having to go in and try to find all the depreciation accounts, by actually picking, cherry picking through it. Click OK. Boom. So now you can see everything that's starting with DPR. So here are all the GL accounts that are depreciation related. Here are allocations accounts that are depreciation related. Here's a depreciation roll-up, which probably has all those up there. Here's debt depreciation amortization. And the reason that came up is because we wanted DEPR. So you're getting bonus with your amortization. And then we also had depreciation including allocated depreciation accounts, which is giving you the depreciation roll-up and those other additional allocations. Okay, and that's simply by when I went in here, see, filter by attribute, filter by wildcard, and I put in depreciation. Okay. So let's say I just wanted to do revenue. Easy to get to, but let's just say I did rev, asterisk, rev, asterisk. This is going to be everything that has the word revenue in it. Okay? Or, in this case, revaluation, because I wanted REV. Does that make sense, folks?
Yep.
Cool. Maybe you didn't have lunch, Stacy. Everyone else sleeping. All right, so now I'm just going to grab product sales, just as an easy start. I'm going to hit the keep button. And over here, now if it's great, that means I can't drill down. Well, of course I can't drill down on this account because it's one of those blue guys. It's the base level. This is the bottom of the barrel. There's nothing below 40,000. So this is grayed out. But notice I can roll it up. So I want to say, okay, where does this GL account roll to? I click on that button and it rolls up to trade revenue. I can do the same for trade revenue. But now notice, in the case of trade revenue, notice that this button is no longer gray because it's a C-level consolidated element with a little sum function, picture here. If I click there, it will drill down on my trade revenue stuff, which is kind of the same as doing this in this example, but shows you how that button works. But now trade revenue, it's like, where does trade revenue roll up? Let's go see. Let's go roll it up. Notice it just rolls up to revenue. Okay. Now I'm going to go reload default here, total accounts. And then if I go over here, these buttons, the collapse, the expand, if I hit the expand, it's going to look just like this, right? Watch what happens. Okay, but it's going to expand pretty much everything, every element that's in. This one is really cool though, because this expands everything that's out there. So if you wanted to go total accounts and see how the whole hierarchy works, expand all elements. That's a great one to use. Gives you an idea of how everything rolls. Okay, and again, remember anything that you see the word input for, that means it was for planning purposes only. Okay. Right, so that was the subset editor for the count, now total departments. This is another one of those dimensions. It's been around forever. There's just a lot of stuff in here. But you've got hierarchical, you've got data that goes back probably maybe 50 years. Hold on, let's just see how far the data goes back here. I'm going to put all months on top of year to replace. Right? And you can see all years, let's just keep all years. So we basically have the P&L going all the way back to FY12. That's loaded here currently. Okay. There's been a lot of changes since FY12 for this company. So if we actually then go look at total departments, like again, put the cross on top of total departments. I have it just opening just to your basic total departments, which includes COGS, OPEX, facilities, and IT. If I drill down on COGS, I'm going to get wafer fab and operations. Wafer fab is now obsolete. This was part of broadband, but we still have expenses through the year for wafer fab. So if I drill down on wafer fab, you're going to see all the departments that made up wafer fab. Okay, and these are all direct cost departments. You can see there's some old ones in there. Albuquerque comes up. Because if I go back to FY12, those departments were probably being used back in FY12. Now, if I go into operations, because of all the different acquisitions we've had, it's a one-to-one relationship. In other words, you cannot have the same department for multiple divisions. It's a one-to-one. So that means, for example, if I look at Department 205, CC, that's Concord. If I see TP, Tinley Park. If I see BL, that's Bud Lake. If I see NAV, okay, that's going to be FOG, because there was already, and that was before we acquired Concord, Bud Lake, and Tinley Park. that there was already manufacturing engineering 231, we needed to split it out between Alhambra, broadband. No, actually, this is probably between broadband and FOG, because FOG came after broadband as well, even though it was an Alhambra department. And those are all your operations.
Are you saying FOG as FOG? What is it that you're saying for that one?
Oh, FOG, F-O-G.
Okay,
yes.
thank you.
FOG is one of the segments. So what I'll do, just to get that ready for you, this isn't something that the finance folks really look at, but if I go into revenue and I see the different sectors,
Okay.
we have FOG, inertial nav. FOG is Alhambra. Inertial nav is Tinley Park. Ports MEMS is Concord, and you do not see space in nav, which is Bud Lake, because I don't have revenue data. It's cute.
Okay.
But that gives you an idea as far as where they belong at this point.
And is there a sector key or mapping, or like a legal entity key or map somewhere within a file that I can use for reference until I memorize these or learn these?
There's going to be aliases that you can kind of turn on and off, and I'll show you where those are.
Okay.
I'll help you with that. I think I might have that in a sector P&L. Hold on. Let me go into sector here real quick. And let's see. Not in that one. But you'll get the hang of it, but I think there is somewhere where I have an alias and I can use for both. That's
Okay.
a good question.
Thank you.
Anyhow, let's go back to the queue. All right. So here we are back on the department list. Remember, COGS, wafer fab and operations, it's pretty much just operations now. Under OpEx, we've got R&D, SG&A, below the line items. This flood income and expense is totally obsolete, but I guess there was a flood many, many, many moons ago. And then we also have gain loss on sale of assets. And this is the way that Dave and anybody else that was in finance since, Dave was around for 30 years. This was, again, the way that they actually produced their P&L. Okay? Breaking things out by department. So if we go into OpEx, we go into R&D, again, you're going to see CC, TP, anything, and if it doesn't have a CC or a TP, then it's Alhambra. Okay, so there is an R&D department in TP, but there is no Bud Lake. There were a couple there for Concord. There were R&D departments. SG&A, M&S, marketing and sales, and G&A total. You go to marketing and sales, now you're going to get into, again, Concord, TP, and let's say, this was how they broke out the different segments. You had sales and marketing SATCOM, sales and marketing chips, sales and marketing broadband, blah, blah, blah. Also, most of you guys should know, 500, that's an allocation department for sales. If I go into R&D, drill down, 400, that's an allocation department for R&D. COGS, operations, 200, allocation department for operations. Okay, instead of cherry picking at a department level, this is basically kind of like just kind of a go-to department when running out allocations into the P&L in the past. Okay, so back to M&S. Now G&A total is a combination of G&A and corporate. Okay, G&A, all your 600 series departments, Concord, TP, Bud Lake. And I think we're only using 671 instances. That was a time. Okay, and we're still using, I think we're probably still using HR, probably 674. And then, of course, it's got its allocation department. And then you also have corporate. All of corporate are 700 series departments. Right now, we're definitely using corporate finance. I think, Lakeisha, you might be in 752. Brian, if he's still around, would be in 754. Monique would be in 756. That's the other thing to note is that G&A 600, corporate 700, M&S 500, R&D 400, operations 200. Okay. Wafer fab was 100. Now we have facilities. Those facilities are in the 900 series GL accounts, and we are still using these. We are using these facilities GLs. IT is also the 900 series as well, but I think at this point we're only using 990. But you can go back to, let's say, October of this year or FY23, and we actually had, IT folks in 994 when we acquired them. I think we may have had BL, and we definitely had Concord IT folks. But it's really important because this division, this department division, dimension is used a lot. Okay? It's really important to understand how everything rolls up in regards to departments. And remember, the none department, like I mentioned earlier, if I go into operations, okay, and I just go down here, you'll see, there it is. None is part of COGS. So as Jason and his team have been getting used to posting journal entries for, let's say, other income expense, okay, they just figure, oh, well, there's no department associated with it. So they've been putting it to none. And I have to review it, and I need to let them know. I think they finally get it now, but they don't use none. You don't use none if you're posting to other income and expense, right? At that point, what we do is you then actually post to a below the line item department. So let me grab this again because it's important to see this. We go into OpEx and go below the line items. These are more 900 series GLs, right? And then also specifically and only for gain and loss and sale of assets, you would use gain and loss of assets department. Because in your head, you go, oh, well, there's no department associated with that. Nope, there is, because you need to segregate it out on the P&L, the way the P&L has been built in the past. Okay? So if I was to go, let's say, back to below the line items.
I have a question, and this may be finance. I don't know if it's related to this, but that sale of fixed assets, the sale of fixed assets gain and loss, is that used strictly for recording cash received for the sale of fixed assets, or is that just used in general for a cash account?
This isn't used for a cash account at all.
Okay. Okay, I had to ask because I've experienced that before, where it was pretty much everything except fixed assets.
Right. Well, again, that's the way it's been done in the past.
Okay.
Going forward, like in the past, that's the way it's been used.
All right.
And now, so if I take below the line items as a group, you'll see through the year, I've got some departmental expense spending stuff, and okay, that'll be where severance would go. All right, because we needed to separate our severance out, so we would shove it into, and that would be, there's actually a severance department here, okay, to get to the severance. Right, but let's just go back to the little line numbers, because now I'm poking around and making sure everything's right here. Okay, restructured charges. Go there, but you can see mainly like other non-operating, other non-income, etc. Those got posted to these below the line item departments. Let's just go for gain loss on sale of assets. You can see gain loss on sale of assets is for gain loss on sale of assets account. So that should at least answer your question, Keisha. I'm using that particular grouping within the department to mention. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Now, let's talk a little bit about some of the buttons that are sitting up here. First of all, these are some of the drop downs. If I went into view, I can actually reverse the way I look at this data. So let's say I live in Japan. I might want to look at it like that. Okay? Reading, left, right to left versus left to right. Okay? I also have the ability to turn off the toolbar, turn off the status bar. I have the one turned on. Now, if I go into options, you'll see right now this, you can see it's suppressing zeros, but it's also suppressing zeros on the rows and suppressing zeros on the columns. This is the suppress zeros button. So if I do this, you can see a couple of counts opened up here that have no values in it, right? See that? Because they make up total counts. What I can also do though, I can go to options and I can literally uncheck it, go, I want to suppress my zeros on my rows. On my columns, but on my columns, but not on my rows. So I can uncheck it, and you can see the same thing is happening. Right now, I'm just going to reload this. I'm going to turn off automatic recount. Automatic recount is on most of the cubes, not all of them. So some of the cubes, if you go in and let's say I just do a refresh, fine. But let's say I make a change. Let's say I go to F123. Instead of seeing the data automatically, it's blank because I'm not an automatic recount. So that's then why you use this button, the recount button, and it'll give you your data. But again, the default view, if I reload it, that's going to be highlighted here. So let's blow this up. There's a lot of elements stuff here. Okay, so I just grabbed everything. And let's see, is this a good example? Actually, let's do this. That's not a good example. Let's do it this way. So if I go into total counts, let's do this. I'm going to take everything and I'm going to unsuppress zeros. And notice I'm getting a lot of rows with zeros that I really don't want to look at. Okay? I don't want to see them. So again, if I suppress zeros on that, I'm only going to see anything that actually has a value in it. So to see this early pay discount, who knows when the last time we ever used it? Somebody decided to book $19 in September. I couldn't even tell you the last time that was ever used in the past, but it got used this year, September. Okay, let's see where we are with the PowerPoint. Okay, we're talking subsets. How much farther we go because I want to make sure we get into the views. We talked about views. Okay, this is something that's important to know because I'm kind of going to go through because I want to start working in a spreadsheet. If you go in and you see any view, if you drill down on a view, remember we're working with some of the default views, but if you see anything that starts with a Z, any view, that is system. Now I've created those views. Okay, you can hit on it if you want. You won't break TM1, but you may crash your Excel bar. Okay, because it turns it into a relational view, rows and columns. You may have where you're going to have like so many columns that you're not going to be able to see it. Right? So my recommendation, even though you might be curious, never hit on a ZSys view. But let's just look at views real quick here, just so we can get a feel for that. Okay, so let's move on to this. Let's go to Server Explorer. Yeah, we're looking at the default view. Okay, let's go to Server Explorer. And if we go into revenue, and I drill down on views, you can see in this revenue, we'll go into P&L. Some of the, there aren't a lot of great views for you. Who's turning one out there? Okay, here's a view. So this one called Department Spend Trend. If I open up that view, that's going to give me the last 3 years by quarter of all those of the department spending subset. Okay, so department spending is a subset within the account dimension to get to specific accounts that have been picked for department spend. Okay, but this is a view. I can go here again. I don't have to necessarily go into Server Explorer, and I can go in and I can find different views of data that I like. Okay, all those Z-SIZs, again, they're all system related. Same with the zero outs. Those are old, prior to me. So let's say I went into, look at all this one. See where it says FY23 Q1 versus Q2 OPEX, R&D, and G&A? Might be hard to see, but there's like a little person, like a little, like, I don't know if you remember what weevils were. Weevils wobble, but they don't fall down. That's a little weevil, a little carrot in the bottom. I'm going to select that. And you can see what it's doing. It's bringing FY23 actuals for R&D and G&A by division. And for some reason, I needed to create a private view of that data. In other words, as the administrator, I create public views for everybody to get to, but there may be private views for your own personal use that you can create for your own analysis, things that you would want to do. Default. Oh. Right, so those are the views. That's just an idea. You can drill down on any one of the cubes. You'll see you have multiple views. In this case, I'm just giving an example of accounts receivable aging, as well as the BBB summary, which stands for billing, bookings, billings, and backlog. Billings is the same as running. That's the terminology they use at M4 since the BBB file. Okay, so you see BBB, bookings, revenue, and backlog. If you go down in your views, you'll see all the little scissors, which you don't want to use, but you can use the default always. All right, let's start creating slicing. Slicing is how powerful one is in Excel spreadsheet environment. This is your DBRW formula. It stands for database read WAN. I don't know how old most of you are. There's something called WAN a million years ago. Does anybody know what that stands for? Okay. This is like probably right around right before the internet. Actually stands for wide area network. A lot of people think DBRW stands for database read write. It doesn't. It stands for database read wide area network. But this formula, this DBRW formula, is what will come in once we do a slice. All right, and it's so important that you know how all these cell references are working, and when you're actually doing your slice. So, slicing is process copying cube views into a worksheet. It populates a worksheet with TM1 functions that communicate with the cube. You're tethered to the actual cube itself that you're working. Right now, the function that then retrieves that data is called the DBRW function, or you can actually use the DBR function in specific special cases. For you guys, most of you users here, not developers, for users, you will always be using DBRW. So to create a slice, we first create a view, which we've been playing with all morning, in the cube viewer. And then from the cube viewer menu bar, choose File Slice, or use the Slice button on the toolbar. After a slice has been created, the worksheet, you can then do whatever you want with it. Okay? Now, I'll get to this in a second, and at this point, I do want you guys to play a little bit, too. So, this is the default P&L right here. Okay? To create a slice, okay, I could literally go File, okay, and Slice. I can slice, I can create an active form, or I can do a snapshot. But you're not going to do that. You're going to go right here. Okay? You're going to go on this button here. Now, you probably were looking, going, God, these two buttons, they look the same. This is one of the most stupidest things that the developers at IBM did, is that before, this used to be an Excel. It looked like Excel, like it was like an Excel logo. And the snapshot was a camera button. Made perfect sense. That's the snapshot. That one was Excel. No. All they did was create the exact same picture, but change the color. So believe it or not, that's green and that's blue. If you guys can see that. It's stupid. But at least if you put your cursor over it, you can see that that's the slice and that's the snapshot. So can everybody at least try to at least do what I did here and actually go into your cube, go to your P&L cube, double click on it, open it up, so that you're then going to get to your default P&L, and it should look like this. You guys can all just give me a quick, hey, yes, got it. Some, you have two people.
Got it.
So I know. Okay. Yep. Excellent. Now we've been playing in the cube viewer. I've showed you how we can move data around, we can do all this stuff, and that's great. I'm a big cube viewer user. A lot of you guys maybe don't care less about that, right? And be working with slices. So now, click on the slice button. It's going to drop it into your spreadsheet. Everybody's screen should look like this. Does anybody's not look like this? Okay. You've now created a slice. At least for Keisha, maybe your first slice, I don't know. All right, so now you see up here in the formula bar, it says DBRW, sitting on that cell. Same with any of these cells. These all have DBRW formula. And you're like, well, what the heck? Where's that coming from, right? So if I go to January here, and I hit my F2 key to edit, it's going to highlight all those cell references, B1, B2, B3, B4, B5, A9, and E8. Those are all cell references, okay, pointing to that data point that we talked about in the earlier today. The actual intersection of those, using that cell reference, is going to give me my amount of $5,106,720.03. Okay? As far as total accounts. Yeah, and that's basically just going to tell you the income. Now, in the case of the P&L, the way that M4, was doing things, the natural sign for a revenue account is a credit. So you can see that all the revenue numbers are credits. Okay, because it's just strictly taking the data directly from the GL. Now, when we look at that DBRW formula, you'll see that the first cell reference, B1, is the cube. You gotta actually reference the cube you want the data to come from before you actually get any of the data. Once you're past the cube, each one of these cells, B2, B3, B4, B5, A9, and C8, are the dimensions that make up the P&L cube, right? So again, if I'm looking, in this case, November, and instead of doing F2, I'm just going to do, trace my dependents. Trace my precedents. You can see that cell reference is pointing to each one of those cells to give me my data. Right? So that 4,603,000 is basically total accounts, actual FY24, total accounts, or total consolidated, total departments for the month of November. Now the order of these cell references is critical. When you just go and you're in a cube viewer and you just like, go and hit your slice, it's automatically going to put them in the right order. But if you're manually creating this, not that you guys will, I do, you have to know the order of creating your DVRW formula. And it's important to know that anything that is a title dimension, which are all of these, are always going to be absolute. $B, $2, $B, $3. $3, $B, $4, 5. These are all your page area absolute because you're not doing anything different. You're always going to be looking at this when you're looking at your rows or your columns. But when you get to your rows and your columns, if I go to A9, you can see that I'm absolute in regards to my row, but relative in my column, but relative in regard to my row. Same with C8, okay? Like if I look here, I'm going to be C8 all the time because I want to make sure that on row 8, being absolute is going to be where my month dimension is. But if I'm looking at December, January, February, notice how the formula changes. You see that? If I look here, the last element, okay? And then now to prove to you that, if I go to Server Explorer and I go to P&L, let's get this out of the way, and you can see order. This is the order that the cube was built, the dimension order that the P&L cube was built. The first dimension is the scenario, second is year, division, department, account, month. That's the same way when if you look at your cube viewer, so B1 is the name of the cube, B2 should be my scenario, it is. B3, my year. B4 is going to be my division, B5 are my departments, A9 is going to be my account, and C8 is going to be my month. Your DVRW formula has to always be in the right order for the cube you are looking at. Okay, so now we're in here. I can do whatever I want here, literally. I can insert, new columns. All right, I can insert another column. And let's say I want Q1. Okay, let's say I want Q1. I don't have any DVRW formula there, but that DVRW formula is so perfect for me. I can just copy it, do a Shift F9 because we're on manual calc, and Shift F9 only counts the sheets you're on. I can immediately get my Q1 data in there, even though my slice was originally just looking at the months. I didn't have my quarters in there. Okay. Now, let's say I type quarter. Say I type quarter 1. Let me calc on that. Hey, I get key errors. The reason I'm getting a key error is because that element, quarter 1, does not exist in the month dimension. Okay? Anytime you see a key error, and you look at your formula, you're going to go, okay, which one of these elements doesn't exist? What is wrong? Something's wrong. All right, so that's good to know, like what payment assessment. What if something blows up? Okay, this is something that could be a problem on a report. If a report, sometimes there's some static reports. Let's say that an account has been defined a little differently. If you get a key error, it's because something's changed. That's rare, but it's possible. Okay. So we'll go back to Q1, F9 on it, and we're good to go. I can also, instead of saying October, I can make this Q1. And as far as that goes, I can do this. Let's just play. So now basically what I've done is I've just created a quarterly P&L from your monthly P&L. Now the rows are static. Okay. You can't drill down or do anything with them. And if you type one incorrectly, then you're going to have some issues here. But certainly you can insert rows. You can make any color you want, it doesn't matter. Let's say I do this, let's say I move this over here. Notice my formula, it automatically will go to I, okay? My formula will update automatically to look at total departments of the world. Let's see. Now, the other thing that's nice, once you're in a slice, is let's say I want to go to actual. There's a sub and M function here. That means subset name is going into the scenario dimension, and it's picking the actual element. But I don't want to see actual. Let's scroll down on actual, and let's go pick sideline 8 data. Click OK. Again, we're on manual calc, so watch how everything changes. Now I'm looking at sideline 8 data only for that quarterly P&L. I can do the same thing for year. I can pick a different year. I can go into my department instead of total consolidated division. Okay? Let's just pick import broadband because most of the stuff that's in it. Okay? So you guys want to play a little bit with that and ask any questions, or if you guys have any questions about that right now? Bottom line, it's very flexible as far as anything you can do with the spreadsheet, as long as you understand how this DBRW formula works. Okay?
What are the most common mistakes or errors you see people make when dealing with a slice, or are there any?
Problem is, a lot of folks said, MCOR never became an advanced user community, unfortunately. But I would think it would be where people not understanding how the DBRW function would work, okay, or tracking it down. It's more just not understanding how it works. So I wouldn't necessarily say there would be errors, because a lot of the stuff that they've done, certainly David created, prior users, a lot of stuff they have out there, they didn't necessarily build on their own. And it's just understanding, like if you see here, that you've got an element that's wrong. You just need to correct that. So, but typically, I don't really get those types of questions these days. A lot of that doesn't really happen. And because right now, primarily the main folks here, if I actually go in here and I go back to applications, remember that's that virtual library files. Let's say I grab consolidated and put it on knowledge. This is kind of obviously a little more advanced. I'm not expecting any users. I've got filters, just Excel stuff here, so they can grab a month they're looking at. If, for example, if I go into for September, let's say you can see I've got my DBRW formula in there, but I'm putting a minus sign before the DBRW. Because when I'm doing my P&L, I don't want to see credit, okay? Even though the natural account is a credit. In this case, for the report, I'm putting a minus for the actual report itself. Receivable report. Now you wonder, where's all that data coming from? Right, so let's just open up some stuff. And if you go here, you'll see I've got over here 2 columns. One's for department, one's for account. This is just labeling the wall. So if I go and let's say I just do an F2 edit, you see I'm grabbing in that order how the cube is built. That particular number is grabbing the Concord division for September FY24 actual revenue for all departments. But now you'll see here, you can combine in a slice, because certain elements aren't available or aren't. There's reasons why that is, but in this case, you'll see gross profit. Gross profit isn't an element in the account dimension. So you're just doing general, just J11 minus J12 to get to the answer as to what the gross profit is. And same with your gross margin percentage. So it's a combination of DVRW formulas as well as some functions in the default. Again, this was around before my time, and I've just you know, cleaned it up, made some modifications, and kept the same concepts simply because the users that were here had been using it for so many years before I came around. And again, this is a little more advanced in regards to report building, I guess. You know, some balance sheet's pretty common, but when you go to the P&L, you'll see what you have. I'm not simple. You've got these two columns at home showing the department and the account. Okay. And you guys can go in there, and I don't care what you do with this. You can break it all day long because you're not breaking it. The master is safe, and you're making it too. Except the administrator.
Solanna?
Yep.
I have a quick question, kind of to piggyback off of what Lakeisha was asking. What are some of the common mistakes that are made in Sightline by users that cause issues with TM1? I know like in the past there were issues, I think with customer service, order entry, or creating new customers that was causing issues.
First of all, we're focusing but I'll answer your question. You guys are mainly focusing on the P&L and balance sheet.
Right.
The biggest issue, which has happened because of not knowing how to book entries, is booking in Sightline none to expense accounts. Okay, none is, you can't, like those other income and expense.
Okay.
That's been the biggest issue that I've found in Sightline in doing things. All right. Now the other issue that comes up that's been cleaned, thank God, for a little while. There was a problem was in revenue and revenue ship to information. And this was mainly because of the folks in Tinley Park, Bug Lake, not Concord, not Alhambra, that they would not put in the state, the ship to state.
That's what it was, okay.
And if they didn't put the ship to state, I've got, basically a conditional that says if they don't, you could create an error, or it actually goes to an unidentified state. Okay? And it's a question of how things roll up because, like, for example, for commissions, whether it's domestic or it's international, that was always important in the past, as you know. Also for revenue and revenue ship to, when we're doing revenue ship to, that cube is used for sales tax. Okay? It's not just out there because, let's just create a revenue ship to cube. It's out there because it actually produces the sales at the state level as to where you shipped the product. Okay?
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, no, it's a good question. I'm not spending a whole lot of time with that, but let's say I open up revenue and revenue ship to, just so you can see real quick. Let's go to revenue ship to. Let's minimize. Okay, and look at the data. And you can see the revenue is exactly the same for both, for the year, 71,914, 71,914. All right, but where it's shipped to, like in the revenue queue, if I go and I go domestic here, and let's just go domestic and see what we get. That's a good question. So if I go to all sectors and I go domestic, and let's do here in the world, and let's grab domestic here. And I drill down.
The unidentified, yeah.
Yeah, see, there's identified in there. And there's 44 units total year. I'm gonna think, okay, so that's something that's got to get, that never obviously got cleaned up in December for some reason. Okay, it should have been, but I'm gonna tell you the remainder of it is out here when they're actually doing, when they should be using this for sales tax. So then I have to go in, find the order, contact the sales, the order entry folks, and go, can you guys please just put in the state? Okay, these for the ship to, on site line. Huh? Who is that? And I've got one here on the revenue, identified. So you can see that just happened in September. So I gotta go track that down. Figure out, that order. So those are the sideline issues happening. Another issue that'll happen are, let's say there be changes for product codes. Or, where I take that into account typically, but sometimes there can be issues where they might want to think that one part rolls up to 2 product codes. Impossible. That's a one-to-one relationship, not one-to-many. Each item rolls up to 1 product code. You cannot have an item that rolls up to multiple product codes. So those are again some of the things that happen inside work. But it's primarily, and as far as customer, don't really have any issues with customers.
Okay.
That I'm aware of, but I can think about candidates, it's really just kind of the usual stuff.
Hey, Solanna, along the lines of what Stacy just asked, I know this is not TM1 issue, but is there a way we can log? Because I see sometimes people by mistake fat fingering and entering balance sheet accounts with cost centers, or the other way, entering expense accounts without a cost center. Is there a way we can lock that to avoid having this type of?
I'm gonna give you an answer on that, and it's an assumption, and it's something that I've complained about for years. That I believe in sideline, I believe there should be a table that you can actually say, for this account, you can't use these departments, and vice versa. In other words, lock them out. Or for example, we keep hitting on 416, and I don't know where that's coming from. Department 416 does not exist, but it still sits in sideline. Okay, that should be made obsolete. I don't see why that department can't be made obsolete. So, from a theoretical perspective, absolutely. There are a lot of flags that can be turned on, off, combined, etc. in sideline that just have not.
Okay.
Okay, but it's something I've complained about for a long time. Because we wouldn't get some of these entries that come in, and it's like, okay, let's go track that one now. Right?
Yeah.
Like, for example, if they go for an order, if they, and again, what I've had a problem with, and again, it's all secondhand, but people, order entry, even though I know Adrian's doing it, but there's still some people left back there that are doing stuff. They'll just go through the order. Nah, I don't need to ship to. Yeah, you do need to ship to. You do need to. So that field should be mandatory when they go through the order. And it's not. Okay? So those are things that are at the ERP sideline level that I have no control or authority or anything on. But have I seen it over the last 9 years? Absolutely.
Hey, I'll just chime in real quick. Why we can't just shut accounts down and sideline is because some of them are automatically posted when we do some other transaction. Someone does something on the shop floor, they close a work order or something. So we'd have to fix the accounting instructions behind the scenes.
Correct.
Otherwise it's just an error out the posting. We're having a bigger problem. So it requires a lot more fixing than just obsoleting, shutting down accounts and you can't post to it.
Well, what I said was general. There are some that you can.
Yes, there are some that aren't driven by automatic accounting instructions pumping it in. Yes, I totally agree. Yes.
Correct. That is, you guys got to go through the work order setup. How all that's created.
Right.
I mean, there used to be a team of, I don't even want to tell you how many people that were doing that kind of stuff. You guys don't have anybody left really doing that.
Yeah.
Okay, and all you got are the public. Yeah. Well, Pontus can help you explain how it's done, right? Thank God you have that as a resource. Because Pontus knows anything and everything that goes on in the sideline. Okay, but you don't have the staff that understand the processes anymore. Same with, when you've got public into the park. nobody really trained these folks on processes. They kind of like did their own thing as well. Okay, where when Concord came on board, they were all trained on processes. It was just different role. You know, I mean, if you want to look at what was the headcount of this company in FY16 compared to the headcount today, just a whole other world. Just different world.
Yeah.
Anyhow, so again, we're looking at our slices here, and they're lots of fun. I love my slices. And again, you can just change up stuff any way you want. You know, like let's say that I got rid of, well, let's put this back. And let's say I got rid of every single one of these. Let's just delete all those, okay? Just change this to Jan. Let's just change it to October. All right, and I'm gonna have to do it a couple times. It's not a big deal, but again, I can literally just take the data. Okay. Let's say I took this, and let's just go 12 months. Ah, that's not what I wanted to do. What the heck? That's bad. But I didn't notice that I did that. Let's go to September. All right, and then just did a copy. Oh, I have a bunch of those. Just copied it over. And you know, it's going to build the whole thing out. There's so many things you guys can do.
But you change the year here, like from FY24 to 23?
Oh, I can. No, it's on FY24. Why?
Like, let's just say you wanted to change it to 23. Can you do it up there in year, or do you have to?
Yeah, right there.
Nice. Okay.
Okay, but now what's interesting is, let's say, and for you guys, it's probably easier to start with a view. But let's say that I wanted to do a comparison of FY23 to FY24. Okay, a little more advanced here. And I wanted to do it by, let's say by month. Right? Let me just get rid of these columns here. And so let's say that let's just say that I'm going to drop this down for FY23. All right. Now, it's a sub and M function, so I drop A. But instead, I'm just going to literally just range value this puppy, just make it FY23, so that's all I see is FY20, right? And let's say I go FY24, and it's still October, okay? So you're thinking, oh, I should still be able to copy this and put it there. Okay. Notice my data didn't change. I'm not getting FY24, right? And that's because in my formula, when it's looking at
a
the
range
region,
value.
it's not looking at a range value. Remember my formula, it's looking at an absolute for that cell, for B8. See B8 here?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry, B7. So if I go here and I look at B7, notice B7 is still absolute. So if I copy that formula over, I'm still looking at B7.
Got it.
Right? So all I have to do here is go in and instead
change it to
just get rid of the absolute on the B.
Yep.
All right, and then just do
Yep.
a simple copy. Now I'm looking at FY24.
So B3 can be blank.
There is no B3 because I moved it. Even though it's got a title over here, that doesn't mean anything.
Okay. Okay.
I don't need any of this stuff. It's just identifying stuff.
Okay.
You know, to help the user know like which dimension it came from. It's basically it, right? Yeah. right? So then again, that's actually where the winner was. And let's say let's say I'm creating a report. I don't want to see oct, that's ugly. But if I have 9 on that, I got nothing because it's pointing to a cell that doesn't have anything, right? It's blank. There's nothing in there, so I get blanks. Nothing's showing up. So let's go in October, but that's ugly. So then what I would probably do is either insert row above or below, and then say, yeah, just give me this one for my report. Let's hide this one. And then let's go shift to 9 to get the values. And then as far as that goes, literally just,
Merge it.
yeah, I tend to be I'm more of a merge and center person than a merge cells, but I don't care what you do. Hey, that looks so much prettier, doesn't it? Now, let's get rid of my grid lines. I hate grid lines. Put a box around, just box everything up a little bit. And you can just make it look as pretty as you want. Range value it, pretty reports. Any other questions just on some of this basic stuff here? All right, let's see what else. Okay, so back to updating TM1. This is important. It says data can be typed into TM1 functions in a slice worksheet. But typing over a DBRW function does not delete it. That's really important. Okay, and now data cannot be pasted into a TM1 function in a slice worksheet either. So we're gonna go, so when you're talking about what are some of the errors, things that happen, these are some of the things you have to understand when you're actually working in a slice. And last but not least, updating data in a slice, you have to press the F9 key, which calculates how to work with, or shift F9 to update the sheet. Okay, either method will work. Okay, and again, this is talking about manual count. And so let me just go back to here, and we'll talk about some of these. A lot of this stuff you guys can't do, but I can. And I want to pick a cube that's a little more, doesn't really matter that much. So I'm just going to go into the revenue cube here. And I'm going to do a quick slice. But let me see how I want to do this. Let's see, about September. And I'm going to, wow, we didn't have any miscellaneous. That's beautiful. And let's go into the middle. If I go here, using, I just want to show you how you, well, we can start with this. All right, so let's just say I'm just doing quick slice on this table. All right, so there's the data, the DBRW formula coming from Margo. Right? So let's say you guys wanted to update data out of, like no, it's, no, of course you can't, but just to show you what happens. First of all, we're at a consolidated level. So if I typed in here 670, it's going to come back and say TM1 write-out system on it. You can't do it, In other words, you guys can't overwrite any of this data. And you can keep typing, do whatever you want. You can't get to any of it because it's right. There's no access to it. However, I can actually go in and make changes to the data. Of course I don't, they reference as. But if I would be able to, everything has to be at a base level where I could actually go in and enter data directly on top of the DBRW. Let's say I want to change that to 12 million. Okay, I could. But the DBRW formula will stay. All I'm doing is using it to transmit that data, that new value into the cube. That's one thing I'm using. Oh. So I didn't important, so just to understand how the DBR formula works. Certainly when you get into a read-write situation, like if you're planning, budgeting, you would be using the spreadsheets in your data. You could be doing it that way. Okay, because at that time, the users would have write access, not to actuals, but actually to either the plan or the forecast, like in this case. Okay, so if I went out there and I went into budget, I see nothing. There used to be, there was an FY23 budget background, guys. But I can do that here. So let's do this. Let's go to import broadband, go to the base level. I'm just going to go into Alhambra. All right, I'm going to go into none to make it super easy. And let's just go into operations. Let's grab none. Of course, I could go up and I could go attribute, look for none and whatever, but I know where things are. So that's not, it's too slow for me. And then I've got budget. Right now, if I went into revenue, and let's say I wanted to make the revenue for October of FY24, let's say we did 5 million. I'll be lucky if we do that. What's going to happen is I'm going to get right access to none. That's because this revenue is a roll-up. It's consolidated element, right? So if I go in here and instead I pick the base level element for revenue, several ways to get to it. Let's just go to the Q viewer. Okay, let's go here. Let's go to trade revenue. I'm going to grab 4,000, and I'm just going to do a copy paste. Copy. Then go over here, and I'm just going to do a paste. Okay. Let's copy our formulas down. Shift F1. All right, so we can see 4,000, which was product sales for Alhambra. The budget was 2.8 million for Alhambra. Okay, there's nothing left in Alhambra, but let's say I want to make it. Let's say I want to make it 500 bucks. All right, so if I go 500, notice my 500 I can enter because I'm at a base level, right? Everything's at that end level or base level. But the GL account, department, division, etc. Because I'm admin, I have write access to everything. Okay. You can see, but notice that 500, the formula is still in it. I type that value in, and my formula stays. Okay. So now, if I actually went in to the Q viewer here, that's revenue. So I go back here into the P&L, and let's say that I change this to budget. Here's my 500 bucks that I just said. Okay. So there's no batch processing here, because this is direct access. You type it directly in. You can see if I go down and trade revenue, there's my product sales, 500 bucks. So now, I'm going to want 500 in there. I'm going to put the big 0, shift F9, but now what happens? I go back to my Q viewer, say I recount on it. There's nothing in there. Good information to know at some point, maybe? Okay. So, like I said, typing over DBRW function does not delete it. You're basically sending data to TM1 if you can, but you cannot. Okay? Now, what you can also do though, if you go back here, and you're looking at, let's say, just a 7M. Again, the 7M is nice because it allows you to go grab any of these. But you can hard code it. You don't need that. You can literally just delete it and just hard code it. Look at none. Pull up the data. Okay. Let's go back to actual. So on a lot of the reports that I've built, there hasn't really been a need to use a 7M. So they are just hard coded because they won't change. They're gonna always be what they are up there in engaging with them. Especially if it was like scenario, etc. Okay. So again, within every slice, T1 automatically populates the worksheet with various T1 worksheet functions. Again, here's your raw labels, which in this case would be your balance sheet accounts. Here's your column labels, which are the months. Here's your DBRW formula, example. And then showing you the 7M functions as well as the view function. The view function it's something that was called Stargate many years ago. You really don't need this view function. The data of course, is so small. There really isn't any need. So I typically, in any report I do build, I always hard code the cube view. I never leave the view function in there. Just, it adds no value. Okay. This is actually talking about the view function. I'm not really going to cover it. I'm just going to think it'll be on you guys' head. It's not really that important. Now again, the 7M, that's a subset name function, returns the element of a dimension subset corresponding to the index argument. What does that mean? That's actually good to know. Right? So, if we were to look at let me find a good subset for that. So we're going to subset. Let's say we go to all divisions, and we picked, again, Al Hamburg, and turn the other side. Click OK. Right now, see how it has this, if you look at the sub-NN, see it has division, and then it has two sets of double quotes, 1005 number description. It's going to change, because now I'm actually, this is basically the subset name. And in this case, there really wasn't a subset, it was everything. Now I'm grabbing all divisions, 1005, now watch what happens. See now? Oh, should have picked all divisions, right here. Hold on a second. Oh, I know why. Let's go this. Let's go all divisions. Okay, click OK. I select a single element. Yeah, I get you. I get you. That's what I was telling you. I have to make one selection. Okay. See now? See here? Now it's actually naming the subset that I'd selected. Okay? And then if you look over here, the index, for example, when we were talking about the index itself, if I grab everything out here, and we look at the index, this is the order in which these elements were built in the system. Okay, index 14, index 15. So this is important when you're actually looking, and you're actually using different T1 formula. If any of you ever get advanced enough to use it, fantastic. Obviously, I can do it. I don't expect you to, but it's important to know that there is an actual index, and this is for those of you that are involved with relational tables, that there is a sequential order as to how they respond. Little over the top. If I go into, let's see, that was the scenario dimension. Now we're in the edit dimension structure. This is when you actually add elements. None of you will ever be able to do it because you'll be the only one. And you can actually go and see this is the actual order, index order of how things were put in. Now I'm getting over the top with this, sorry guys. Okay, we talked about the DBRW formula. Okay, how it retrieves data. We spent some time on that. Okay, now worksheet functions. Worksheet functions return numeric or string value to be used anywhere in the Excel worksheet. If If a worksheet function references an object on a remote server, you must prefix the object with the server name. So for example, T1 serve CA balance sheet. That means we're going out to T1 server and we're looking at the balance sheet. Like I mentioned earlier, it must be connected to the server referenced by the function to receive accurate values. If you're not connected to the TM1 server, TM worksheet functions will return a key error. Also, if you've got, a wrong element, you're going to get key error. And now TM1 offers a variety of so many of them that you can use for your cubes, your dimensions, your elements. Right? So you can actually find a lot of these using the Excel function list. But these are the most popular ones. I use these all the time. DBRW, remember that, subset name. Now, DBRA, that actually will pull in what we call an attribute. It could be an alias attribute, it could be a text attribute. We'll work on that a little bit. dNext, that actually tells me the next element in index order if I use it. dFirst gives me the first element in the dimension. dmix will actually give me the index of an element. lpar tells me the parent of an element. lcont tells me the children of an element. So when I give you guys the PDF, here are the functions, and it actually tells you how you can use all of them. All right? So you've got dmin, dFirst, dmix, dnext, lcont, lpar, 7m, dbra, dbrw, or dbr, which is simple. You can see, you can actually go out to the Excel function wizard and go grab category TM1, and it'll show you what all these are out there. Okay? And then it will show you, like in the 7M, how you can go select the right items. If you don't have to pick a subset, like I showed you before, but then the actual element to actually get to your data using the 7M function. I'm going to talk about some options in a little bit. Let's go back it up here, because this is important to know this time. Let's see. I want to test you guys and show you how we can use it together. Let's see if we go to month. And you guys can do this. You can actually go out and look at the different attributes. You can't write to it. You should be able to write to them. If you go on right mouse click, for example, on month, and I go to edit element attributes, you'll see that for every single one of these elements, there could be an attribute. Right? So, for example, let's say we look at calendar period. That's an alias. Well, quarter date October is quarter date October. Right? Unless you want to spell it. But calendar period, if I look at October, that period is 10. November is 11. December is 12. And there may be times where you need to use those in a report. Okay? But now there's also month numbers. Just because the period is 10, because we're on a fiscal year starting in October, the month number for October is 1, 2, 3, all the way up to 12 for October through November. Okay? I also in here tell you what is the quarter that corresponds with the month. That can be very important when you're writing a report. I also tell you what's the next month. Okay, if you're actually building reports, what's the next month? What's the quarter called? So you might be running a report on month, but you want to have it automatically pull in quarterly data, annual data, based on the month you've selected. And if you have your DBRA function in your report, it will automatically know. Because the attribute will be in that report to pick up the right heading in order to get the right values for that. I also have dates, and you can see this was for last year. This probably can get changed for 25 when we get there another month. I'll have to go and change that to February 28th. How can I show you guys this? Because it's kind of important. Let's see. Let's see how we do it. All right, so we know this is basically the month, okay? So if it says at D5, okay, it's on hide a few leaves. Hopefully you guys are paying attention. I know you're probably losing me on this, but let me unhide some of these leaves. Because you guys don't need to see some of this stuff. Right? So this month function in gray is saying if D5 equals no override, because you can override any month you want to see, but the system will automatically pick up the month you're in. Okay? So if I go back here, if no override, what's in D6? And you can see there's a big if statement in here, going out and telling me what the month is, right? I'm not going to go into explaining to you this whole if statement. I could always do next. Just know that it's September. All right? Because the date, today's date, is 10/2/2024. All right? And this is actually, they're going to go and pick up that date in TM1. There's a global date cube, and then it's going to give me the prior month, okay, which is going to be September. Okay? Fiscal month, quarter swap. And now if I go to the quarter to date, right, it's going to do the same thing. And it should actually pick up the quarter. I remember how to do this. Nope, I'm using the simple function. I know there's so many reports that I've built out there that actually know, based on the month you're in, the quarter, the year. Let's try one more. Sorry, guys. Let's go out to the option here. I'm going to unhide. Nope, I have the control app. So if I go to the control sheet, okay. Just so you guys can see row columns. So again, similar, it's saying if C4 equals no override, what's C8 and C4? Okay, so we're going to do something similar. Okay, filling in the date. Nope, I'm not doing it there either. I know I've done this. I'm so sorry, guys. There's been so much stuff over the years to try to pull in a DVR. But for the heck of it, let me do this. Okay, so right now I know I'm in the month of September. All right. So if you use this function, DVRA, I have to now type in the cube name and the dimension, which is month. Okay. Now I want to point to the element. Okay, sub. And I think it might be, it is. At least I did something over there. So if I go back, let's go back down to month. And you don't have to go into the cubes to find a dimension. You can go under dimensions and find them individually if you're looking for something. But I'm going to go to month. Let's go back to edit element attributes. All right, and you can see all the different types of data I have out there. Okay, so you can see that I actually have the quarter. Right, if I go down, you'll see for the month of September, the quarter is Q4. And there's my Q4. Okay. Instead, though, let's say that I want date. So I will go in here to this function, and instead of typing quarter, let's say go date. And this could be for a heading, like on the P&L. You know, that definitely, we have that going on. So if I go in here, again, I have lots of if function, if statements, but you can see I'm actually going in, that DVRA function that's in this if statement is actually going and grabbing that date, pull that date in for the month that I'm in. So if I actually override it, say, no, I want to go look at June instead, it's going to go out and grab that attribute for the date, and it's going to change it to June 30. Based on the attribute that it was given. All right, you guys have any questions? I know I'm probably losing a lot of you right now. I apologize. Any thoughts, questions, anything? Okay, I've definitely lost you. Okay.
It seems that way, huh?
Yeah, it is. I apologize.
It's a long session, you know.
Well, you know, it is, but it's only been 4 hours, Tom. But if you actually went and you did proper TM1 basic training like this, it could be 3 days.
Yeah.
Okay, 3 days, 5 days development training, all day long, 8 hours, 3 days. And I'm trying to shove it into, 4 hours. Oh,
Are you
so sorry.
gonna send out CPE certificates?
You know what?
I'm running short on my renewal.
Tom, I have to say thank you so much for at least participating today. I really appreciate it. It really means a lot. Seriously, Thank you for that. All right, so what I'm going to do next, let's just get to some really easy stuff so you guys can see how this is. So certainly there's a majority of people at MCOR that are not using TM1. Sad but true. Okay, so you may want to create a snapshot for them. A snapshot is similar to slice, except it's all static values. And that's all it is. You can make it pretty, you can do whatever you want, but it's pretty basic stuff. Okay, so if we actually go back out here, and let's go in here and we cancel that. And let's say that somebody cares about the backlog. They don't have access to TM1. We go into the backlog queue. And let's say it's somebody that only cares about space and arrow. I drill down on space and arrow. Actually, let's do this. Let's do space and arrow, go in here. Then if I hit this, it's going to give me every possibility that's out there for space and nav. Going to open up all years. All right, so what are we looking at here? This is the latest backlog, FYI, as of this morning. Right? The grandparents of all is space and nav. That's the sector. Then you get into what we call family code. So let's do this, because this is important too. A lot of you might not know this. This is sightline. Drill down on space and nav. Sector. Bud Lake entry, Bud Lake repairs, compact inertial measure, etc. Position everything. Those are family codes in sightline. Once you drill down on family code, you get to product codes. Under product code is the actual item or the part itself that is literally out there. Okay? It's the whole hierarchy of the sightline, all sightline products. Okay? When you're spacing out, we're looking at all data sources, which is fine. Total year, total world. We actually have sales reps in here for backlog, but I think for spacing out already. We have the actual orders and the customers. So let's say you just want to see your products for the year. So basically what it's telling me is that I have data for Bud Light repairs going back to 21, 22, 23, and 24. Somebody needs to talk to whoever's doing the repair orders in Bud Light, because these shouldn't be in here. I should have 0 values in them for Bud Light. Okay, but they're all, for whatever reason, these orders should be removed. Okay, but they're still sitting out there. But now once we get in all this FY24, this is all past due stuff too. 25, 26, 27, and FY40. For those of you that don't know, FY40, there isn't really a commit date. Okay, now I don't know if this process was ever explained to Bud Lake and Tinley Park, but when you enter an order and you enter FY40, it means you really don't have a date yet. You don't really know yet. Okay? And you put it to the FY40 fiscal year. So you can see that we've got 19, most of all the backlog of the 24 that's out there is sitting without an actual commit date. So let's say I just want to do a quick snapshot of that. It's similar to the slice, but it's the blue one to the right. And it also will come in unformatted as a snapshot. So pretty quick, we'll just format your data. Okay? But I can't do anything. It's all static values. It's just values. So let's say that Edgar cared and you want to see this data, you can create a snapshot to him and you can go and send it off to him. Okay, you created just a quick snapshot out of this cube. But now to make this even more fun though, I'm going to take space and nav. I want to see who my customers are. Let's drill down. Let's see who we're selling to. You can see primarily it's Lockheed. And then again, I go all years with the year. And let's say I go all years, so this is kind of important too. I'm gonna replace year with the actual ship dates. All right, and we're looking, and then this is in all years, but it probably makes more sense if I do it this way. No. Okay, and you can see here for this total year going here because it really should say past year. I'll wait a second. Okay. Okay. And let's go to detail. Okay. So now you can see 21, the way T1 works, it's all past due. 21 is past due, 22 is past due, 23 is past due, 24 is past due, and now 25 is saying for Q1, okay, we should actually end up with 1.5 in book, in revenue. This is the backlog. Open up Q1. All right, for FY25, 240, 286, 969 for October, November, and December for FY25. Okay, and now we get to FY40. All right, and you can see that, but now if I go to total year, 40, let's just grab it because it's maybe more hard for you to follow. Let's go see what has not been committed to. Okay, and you'll see that the way they always do it, this is also a process when entering order, is you also would always put FY40 orders to 12/31 for FY40. That way you didn't have all these multiple dates out there, so you could actually see what you're committing to. And then the other nice thing, you can go and grab the orders. Where are the orders? You actually see the order and the order line for Bud Lake only. What the information is here. And you can also see like where is it going for the world. It's not that critical right now. Look at that. Again, I can do a snapshot. There's the data. If anybody wants to go and verify that this data is wrong or correct, let me know, because I think it's 100%. And that's good information to know. You can drill down on it. This is what's called a snapshot, right? They don't have to be Tier 1 users. You can just literally click on the snapshot button and boom, there's your data. Any questions on the snapshot or any questions on backlog and how it works? Yeah, that's how you use your snapshots. It's just quick and dirty. You grab the data. Just hit your snapshot. That way it's not tethered anymore and it's static and you can do whatever you want with it at this point.
I'm assuming you guys probably use it the same way we use the snapshots when we're closing out our quarter or fiscal year to reconcile when you open your next quarter or fiscal year to determine if there are any issues to reconcile your variances. It helps when you can see the properties and you can actually duplicate those efforts and see if you get the same data. So we use that quite a bit and save it.
Certainly, Dave, he would do a lot of, not necessarily snapshots, but he'd create a lot of range value reports. Okay, so for example, let me go back to Fund 23 here. And let's just go to September, let's just go to June for things got really crazy. You have a folder called metrics.
Mm-hmm.
And you can actually go out and see that there's going to be tons of range value reports, okay, that he would date, okay, and a lot of these are range value, they're static, just for that purpose, just to check, what's changed.
Yeah, it definitely helps.
Yeah, no, you would have a control function in order to do that, absolutely. So, the rest of the team, no, they're not really using, I think, T1 to reconcile too much. But certainly it's a good idea, without a doubt, I agree. There's a lot of stuff, anything that has a date, these are kind of all range value reports that are out there. But yeah, good question on that. I work in a dynamic, virtual world. I'm not working with static stuff too much. Everything I do is dynamic. But certainly from a user perspective, I could see where you could, use that snapshot and save it off. There used to be a function in the old version before we upgraded. It was a free add-in of T1 tools, and you could actually use it, and it could actually take a slice, and it had the ability then to range value all of your TBRW formulas in your spreadsheet for you automatically instead of manually going in and kind of like doing, like you have a TBRW, go here and sort of copy range value, base values. You didn't have to do that, but unfortunately, because we're now using 64-bit, there isn't a 64-bit version of the tool, which is unfortunate. But once you guys go to Cafe, there's actually a built-in function that allows you to do that, which is nice. But unfortunately, we're still in perspectives. So.
We are using Pathway, actually, we still do the snapshots. I think it's just more so because we've used it for so long, and that's what the higher ups are used to seeing. It's just easier for them to relate to. So we would do when we close out the quarter or the fiscal year, and then we do another one at the beginning. We just do this each month so that you can have a quick reference as to what changed.
Sure. No, that's, again, you guys, I'm just showing you what's available. You guys can, do whatever you want as far as the tools are concerned. But certainly having T1 tools was really cool. And again, obviously where you were at, you did not have that function. It was a million times better than using a snapshot. Because you could be in your slice and you just press the button and you could determine what you wanted to snapshot within a report. It didn't just do everything. So if you had a report that had DBRW formula but also had some functions, you could actually just range value just the DBRW. Your sum functions are still working. Okay, so that's kind of a nice feature to have. But this tool doesn't exist.
Hey, Solanna.
Yeah.
If I have an example of something I want to go over, can you help me with that on this call? It's
sure.
Okay.
Anything. We've got an hour to go, so
okay.
Take it over. Sure.
Like for instance, I'm going to try to do it alongside you, but I'm going to try to do it the way I think I would look it up in TM1.
Okay.
I'm looking at bookings, and I want to look for a specific order.
Okay.
So what I did is I went into bookings, and I dragged the sales order down after sales item.
Okay, so tell me your story before I start doing it. What's the story? What are you trying to do?
I just want to look at one specific order on bookings.
But it's you know what the order number is?
Yes.
Okay, so why do you want to slide it over anywhere? In other words, right now I'm on the bookings cube, right? And again, I'm not trying to, slap the back of your hand here. But you're looking for one order. So just go to orders. Go into orders. Hit your all button.
That's where I'm at. Yep, that's where I'm at.
Hit your all button.
And then
go up to your wild card,
right? Okay.
What's the order?
That's exactly what I was looking at, is using the wild card.
What's the order?
Order number is 69475. So I'm doing wild card 69475 wild card.
Yeah, you can. I know that it's probably just 69475, that's what I think. Let's see if it blows up on me. There it is.
Okay.
Okay, there's your order. And we know it's Tinley Park. We know it's Tinley Park, it's its initial nav. Okay. Oh, and it's this new product code that's been causing some grief lately. The FGC fog, because this used to be a fog. Okay, for everybody, this used to be just a fog product. This was a fog. It was not part of inertial nav. So we had to make sure that this part got moved into a new product code, which is FGC fog, which rolls up to inertial nav. Okay, you know what's the next part of it?
So it's showing. Wait, it's showing the net 142,780.
Yep. So there was obviously on October 30th first, that order went in for 715,000. And then it looks like then on August 9th, there was a credit of 571,000.
Okay, let me look at, so I pulled a Q4 bookings, and that order is showing, let's see, negative 571,120, which is the August number. Okay.
So 1031, that's Q1, right? Q1, October. Now in August, that's going to be Q4. So yeah, for Q4, you're only going to see the 571. But if you go to total year, there's your 142.
So what would have happened? Hold on, I'm trying to figure out why.
Well, let's see where we're in this order. So what we can do here, I mean, this is actually, I find this better because this helps you guys understand how to use this data. Let's go to backlog. Let's go find that same order.
Okay, let's do that.
Hold on a second. Let me get set up my own board. Okay, give me the order.
69475.
Okay, so now it's not showing. There's no backlog left on it. There's nothing. At least the latest and greatest. Let's do this. Let's go before grabbing a date, since this all the way back to 2015 Let's go to August. And this was this is Tinley Park, right?
Yes.
Okay, let's just go. I'm just gonna go to July.
Okay.
30th? What the heck is that? There it is. Okay. So in July, we go back to the other cube.
Yeah, Solanna, thank you so much for that. We are.
You don't need to know this. Maybe you can go. It's been fun.
Yeah. I think I'm out of time, so I'm gonna
Yeah, I get
jump
it.
off. Okay.
Yep.
Thank you so much for all your help, support. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Awesome job.
Thank you.
I'm not leaving. Who else is leaving? I'm staying.
I'm staying because I'm very,
I'm staying.
I'm very curious about this order staying.
Okay.
It looks like it was booked, then debooked,
That's what it looks like if I go to
and then
August 9th.
rebooked in FY25.
And backlog, it says that this product, something was like okay, let's go down the line.